In the preparation of documents for steel structures and prefabricated elements, a crucial aspect in terms of documentation is the identification of a coding system for all the elements we are going to generate. This type of coding varies from firm to firm and from designer to designer. This is why Allplan 2026 introduces a new fully configurable system that allows me to decide how all our elements should be identified. As an example, I could create a scheme that reads the profile name followed by a sequential number or other types of rules. Everything can then be clearly viewed directly within the information palette, or of course, elsewhere as needed, directly within our document, with the ability to label every single object. Let's try a few examples. Let's move to Allplan and first of all enter the project settings in Allplan. Here we have a new section that allows me to configure the schemes. You will automatically find a series of pre-configured schemes for columns, beams, bracings, purlins, as well as for prefabricated elements. Let's try customizing our scheme. We'll call it column A, which refers to the frame structure columns. We decide that we want to have a sequential number, and this sequence should have a prefix, a static prefix, or a prefix that comes directly from an Allplan attribute, such as the profile name, for example. To make it look more polished, let's add a hyphen at the end of the prefix. Next, we define the starting number and set the placement number format to 3 characters. Let's try creating a second scheme. In this case, we'll call it pillar B. It still refers to the pillar type, frame structure, and we'll add different types of rules. In this case, we don't want a sequential number, but rather a unique number. So we'll use a prefix, for example, the letter P, to directly identify the pillars, a hyphen as a suffix to distinguish it from the unique value, a starting number, and a placement format type. Additionally, we define the rule according to which this unique number should change. In other words, if the profile name changes, we will have a different code. At the same time, we create another type of rule, so each configuration set can contain one or more rules. In this second case, the rule by which my code will need to change is the material that we assign directly to my component. So we have created a first rule of the incremental type and a second unique one, but with a series of rules. Next, let's move into Allplan. Within Allplan, we start drawing some structural columns. As usual, we will select a profile and assign a whole series of information. Here in this section, I decide that I want to use the scheme I prefer most, such as the A column I just defined. At this point, I go ahead and insert my column directly. The more attentive among you will have noticed that a new symbol has appeared near the cursor. Let's quickly see what this is about. If I move to the general options of the program, in the snap area, a new system of specific snaps for grids has been introduced. In any case, let's try to select our columns and populate our information palette. As you can see, we have a series of columns that have the same profile name, the same material, and a placement number made up of the profile rule plus a progressive number, so from 001 to 004. At this point, let's try selecting my profile, or rather all the profiles at once, and tell it that we want a different scheme, such as column B. At this point, the coding changes. We have the prefix P, a unified code 010, followed by another fixed code, which is 001. If you remember, one of the rules for changing the coding was, for example, related to the material. So now I could directly access the steel materials database, select a different type of material, and at this point assign a. By closing, I automatically realize that in the second part, I find the code 002 precisely because the material was changed, and everything can be quickly appreciated within the information palette. At this point, I can proceed with labeling my components, where I will refer each time to the material, the profile, and specifically this unique code that we decided to add directly to my elements according to my specifications. I'd like to remind you that directly from here, at any time, we can recalculate all the structural frame elements or prefabricated elements according to the schemes that I choose.